Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? This week, I have as my special guest, Stacey Chillemi. Stacey is an award-winning author, producer, and podcast host, and she's got an amazing story, and she's going to also share some really helpful tips on overcoming obstacles. It's a really, really special story she's got, with lots of tips from her latest book also. And I will share another excerpt from my book, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, Diaries, Seasons. I'm going to share some poetry that I wrote, because my second favorite thing to do with food, of course I love to cook with food. My second favorite thing to do is to write about food. And I have a poem that I wrote about the tomatoes of summer. So that's part of the excerpt I'll be sharing with you. Stick with me. And here's an excerpt from my book, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, Diaries, Seasons. And you can find this on Amazon and Kindle and almost anywhere books are sold online. So this is an excerpt from my book, and it is, a diary entry for an August 23rd titled Tomato Poetry, The Tomatoes of Summer. Besides the lazy feeling summer brings, my favorite memories of the season are the fresh tomatoes Mother Nature brings. They add so much flavor and color, but now, as summer is winding down, so will the fresh tomatoes. Food is poetry for the body, and poetry is food for the soul. My ode to the fresh tomatoes in summer is inspired by the luscious fresh tomatoes, sheer poetry at your table that appear every summer. Ode to the fresh tomatoes of summer. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth of my palate, a perfect creation from the brain to the palate, from the palate to the fingers. And I love thee from every nook and cranny of my cucina that you infuse with your perfume. Your fragrance is so heavenly, it brings a passion to my day. I love thee for your red beauty when ripe, a color so vivid it needs no light to bring light to my day. I love thee for a juice so sweet, every drop dances on my tongue and in my mouth. My stomach practically begs in anticipation for my mouth to release this nectar so that it too can have the pleasure of your elixir. That poem is by me, Maria Liberati. Hope you enjoy it, and hope you get to enjoy the tomatoes of summer, the fresh tomatoes of summer. Hope you are growing your own. And today, I have a special guest. Actually, I just did her podcast, and she's nice enough to come on my podcast. We have author and podcast host Stacey Chillemi, and her podcast is The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi, right, Stace?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And she's got a great book out. The Maria Liberati Show, we try to be positive and always talking about positive things, because there's so many things out there to bring you down today. Stacey has a wonderful book. I think it's called Empower Yourself, but she's going to give us some tips and tell us about her book today. And she's a really interesting person, has a really interesting background also. So I don't even know where to start, Stacey. Do you want to give us your background a little bit? Because I just think you have such a wonderful, interesting background.
So, at the age of 5, my mom heard like a gurgling sound. She went in my room and I was actually turning blue. I was in a grand mal seizure. So, they rushed me to the hospital and I was induced in a coma. I had encephalitis. It all started from like a cold and a flu type thing, and it just traveled to my brain. And I was induced in a coma. They told my parents that when I came out, I probably would be paraplegic, or I probably would have severe brain damage. So, after 4 days, my father tells a touching story where he's from Greece and he was praying, thinking about a statue in front of the church in Greece, because he came from a little island, and tears drops used to run down the statue's eyes. And he was praying and he looked up and a teardrop rolled from my eyes. He said, And the first thing I opened my eyes and I asked for McDonald's French fries. And and I didn't have brain damage and I wasn't paraplegic, but I did end up with epilepsy. And for years, life was like a roller coaster, trying to get the seizures under control. They had it controlled for years, and then once I went through my menstruation, ovulation, the seizures came back, and I struggled for many years.
Uh-huh.
So college was very challenging because the late night studying, the stress of trying to do good, and I was having many seizures. So I decided to write an article into the Epilepsy Foundation. That's an organization. They have one in every state. They help people with a disorder.
Mhm.
And I said, please, can you please publish this in your magazine? I want to understand. I want to find out how people around the world cope with epilepsy. And I surprisingly, I got letters from all over the United States and Canada. Hundreds of letters came to my house, explaining about their stories and how they cope with it. I was very inspired, and I also felt like, for the first time, I wasn't alone. Because as you know, back then, we didn't have many books on epilepsy. The books were written in medical terminology by doctors. If you weren't a doctor, it just went right over your head. You had no idea what they were talking about. So it was very, very refreshing. I understood that I wasn't alone. I got great tips and I followed those tips and I created my own regimen and I was able to complete college. Then I got a great job in the city. I was working for this big corporation. And one day I was walking in the hallway and I felt an aura, which is kind of like a signal that a seizure is going to come. And I had fell to the floor. I was awake, but in the seizure. And a producer just walked right over me and kept walking. And I couldn't believe that. I was like, oh my God, he just walked over me and kept walking. He didn't even help me. And half an hour later, a co-producer came over to me and said, Stacey, I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to let you go. You don't make the qualifications. And I knew right then and there it was because I had the seizure.
Uh-huh.
And so I just left and I just decided to work and do my own thing. And I started my own little business. I was freelancing and then I met an herbalist and I started doing a lot of research with this herbalist. And a lot of the stuff was really interesting. And I started applying it to my own life. And with my medications and with the natural healing, doing holistic living, changing my lifestyle, my seizures went from 12 to 9 to 8, 7, 6, 5 to the point where I was controlled. So I started a little blog. It all started out in Blogger. People who are our age know what Blogger is. It's a little blog
Yes.
that Google gave us for free. And I had like all of a sudden 400 people come on when I started talking about natural healing. And then I started a website, and one of the guys that I was working for who developed he designed websites for a living, and I used to write the content for him. He said, I can write you a really pretty, I can make you a really nice website. And he created a website for me and it blew up and hundreds of thousands of people came on the website because I didn't just talk about epilepsy. I talked about all different types of conditions and how holistic living, how living a healthy lifestyle could actually improve your life. And it did really well. It took me about 5 years, and I published my first book, The Complete Herbal Guide, which I
Uh-huh.
named my website after. And
Uh-huh.
then I wrote the book, Epilepsy, You're Not Alone. And I included all those touching stories that helped me because I felt like if it could help me, it could help others. And then I
Uh-huh.
used all those things that I put together, that the a healthy way of living in the book as well. And
Uh-huh.
one day I got a email, and a person with epilepsy wrote to me. They said I was on the verge of suicide. I read your book. I found it in Barnes and Nobles, and it changed my life. And they said I would, you gave me the momentum to want to live, and I thank you for that. And that's when I realized how the power, like how the words have such power, and how they can influence a person's life. And right then and there, I really, that was when I really realized what my true passion, what my calling in life was. And I devoted my entire life to helping others and teaching people how to live a healthier lifestyle and how that could actually help and improve their
Uh-huh.
lives.
Mhm. Wow, that it's such a great story. And if anything is about empowerment, you definitely empowered yourself to, like they say, if you have lemons, make lemonade. And
Yes.
that's what I just find is so incredible that you did that. Most people would take, something negative and just be really negative, but you found a way to make a positive, a real positive out of the negative and just kind of grow with it and create your audience. And I love that email that you got. I think just that one email makes your book, worth it, that you helped a person that, was on the verge of suicide and you really helped them. So, but yeah, I wanted people to hear that, because if anybody embodies empowerment, you definitely do. So tell us about your newest book. What's the full title? I think it's Empower Yourself.
It's actually called Empower Yourself. Don't let your conditions empower you. It's actually right over
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
This,
wow.
this book, I had, what I did is I wanted to teach people how to, everyone has a power within themselves. We all have empowerment, but a lot of times self-esteem, we have low self-esteem, or we give up and we don't think that we could actually reach for the stars and actually get them. And I wanted to teach people, no matter what you're going through in life, whether it be stress, diabetes, epilepsy, anything in life, that you can empower yourself and still overcome, what you're going through, and still live life to its fullest. And I talk about, the steps of getting there, and I break it down in very simplistic terms so anybody could understand, and they can go by this book and learn about how to empower themselves. And I talk about denial, because a lot of times when we have things that are not going well in our lives, whether it be stress, anxiety, or whatever condition, we are in denial. We don't want to accept it, because once we accept it, we have to face it, and facing it is very hard. And people go through life, and a lot of times you look in the mirror and many people don't like who they see, but they don't do anything about it. They don't know where to begin, or they just don't think they can. And, I think once you get over the denial and you realize that you do have an issue in your life that you have to face, then you have to learn how to accept the fact. Yes, this is what's going on in my life. I accept it. I'm not perfect, because I don't believe in the word perfect.
Right.
There's no such thing as perfect. Everybody has something. Everybody, there is no, society and the media tries to make this perfect, stigmatism, that people think that, these people who they see on the cameras and they see on the Instagrams and social media are perfect people, but behind the cameras, they are not perfect people. They are just like you and me, and they have lots of issues and things that they're facing in their own lives. And so once you accept that you have an issue in your life, then you have to learn how to love yourself. You have to learn, say, you know what? I am not a perfect person. I am not, because there is a thing called desire and fantasy versus reality. And, we have to really be realistic and realize that, who we are, and love the person we are, because we all carry special, and we all carry special, what's the word?
Gifts,
I'm
like gifts, kind
yes,
of
we all carry,
talents, gifts,
yes,
right? Talents, I think, right?
yes, exactly. We all carry special gifts and special talents, and we all have to be proud of them. And we have to learn how to love ourselves, and then we have to learn how to build a self-esteem. And we have to, because a lot of times, a lot of people suffer from low self-esteem, and and including me, for many years, I had low self-esteem, and I had to learn how to build myself up. I started journaling. I started using short-term goals, long-term goals. And, I built myself up to a point where I was proud of what I accomplished. Because
Uh-huh.
it's not, you don't have to be over here, because not
Right.
everybody is meant to be over here. Very few people can get up here.
Mhm.
The littlest things in life that you can accomplish, be proud of who you are. Be proud that you accomplished that. It's huge. And then going through life and being able to be your best, and to love yourself, it is huge. And then that's when you start feeling the empowerment, is when you start making these little changes in your life, and you start seeing, you start getting close to the person you really want to be realistically. You start
Mhm.
feeling good about yourself, and that empowerment within you starts to come out, and you start to feel that empowerment.
Exactly. Exactly. People, I think I mean, so much of what you said is so true. And I think people try to compare themselves, or they want to think they have to be other people that they see on the camera, but
Right.
they don't realize that, just like you said, they're only seeing
kind of the outside of these people, they're not really seeing what's going on in their life. And if you read most of the backstory, you'll see that everybody is just like you and I. Everybody has their own issues they're going through, just like you said. But it's really important also any achievements that you make to celebrate that, because that's a real achievement. It doesn't have to be the achievement that you see somebody achieving. If you've achieved it, just like you're saying, you really need to help, build your self-esteem up and get to the next goal, and kind of have your own goals, not the goals of somebody else that you see out there. You're your own person, just like you were saying. And I think that's a really, really important points. All those points are really important to build yourself up. Anything that you can think of, because I always say, like, anything that you do, you really have to just kind of, it's hard to get started, just like you said. We keep kind of, everybody pushes back, and it's like, no, well, maybe not, maybe not. I always say it's just like when you jump in the pool when you were a little kid. It's like, oh, I'll just stick my little toe in. No, you have to just kind of jump in. So
Yeah.
anything that you can, or any tips or anything that you can tell people to kind of get started on this empowerment type of mode, I guess you could call it.
The first thing I think people have to realize is that they have to look at their current lifestyle, and they have to live a healthy lifestyle, because if you're going to improve yourself, you have to really look at the lifestyle you're living, first of all. And you have to realize that, people don't realize it, but eating healthy is a big thing. What we put in our bodies has a big impact on how we think, how we feel. Some foods can even cloud our focus. Some foods can really make us fatigue, and eating the right foods, plays a big role, because we don't realize it, but every day we're ingesting toxins, whether it's outside environmentally or the foods we eat. And when our body doesn't know what this food is, or they don't understand what these chemicals going in our body are, what they do is they store it. And after so long, all these toxins start to build in our body. We start noticing symptoms. We start feeling fatigue. We start feeling tired, and we can't do the things we can do. And that's sometimes why we feel, fatigue and stressed out. We just, and then you feel, you get anxious. You get, that's when all these other feelings come, and then illnesses come about.
Yep.
And so healthy eating plays a big role. Getting enough of sleep plays a big role. You
Yep.
need that sleep. You need that REM, in order to live a healthy life and feel good and accomplish these goals. Because how are you going to accomplish all the goals we just talked about and all these things if you're not feeling good? Because when we don't feel good, we don't want to do anything. Nobody wants to do anything. You want to be a little snail in your bed, and you don't want to get out. So you have
Exactly.
so you have to take care of your body. And I
Mhm.
even tell people, when they talk about aches and pains, try to do a little. If you can't exercise, stretch, move, circulate your blood, and you'll notice that you'll start feeling a little bit better. Even like little stretches,
Yep.
can do a lot. And also, journaling is so powerful. And even if and I used to write in a journal, and I used to write about how I felt. And then one
Uh-huh.
day I actually got to the point where I felt like the past is the past, today is the present, and
Uh-huh.
I'm going to focus on today, and I'm going to set goals for today and the future, and try to reach those goals, that
Uh-huh.
realistic goals. And
Uh-huh.
I ripped up the part of the journal that I
Hmm.
accomplished, because that was the past. I'm not going to focus on the past anymore, because a lot of times people focus on the past, they don't let go of the past. So
Uh-huh.
therefore, they're pulling themselves down. We have
Right.
to realize that, at some point in our lives, we cannot change things that occurred. We can only learn from them, and they strengthen us. And those are the things that we have to really realize. Everything happens in my life. I believe personally, everything happens for a reason. And a lot of times, those things that happen, those obstacles in life, we overcome them eventually,
Hmm.
and they strengthen us, and they give us knowledge, and we are able to move on. And so you have to just let go of the past, and sometimes meditation is really helpful,
Mhm.
of just, letting go of the past, focusing on the present. I used to
Uh-huh.
make believe that I had a dove on my shoulder and the past was just flying away and it was gone. And I used to do breathing exercises. It would calm me. I would
Uh-huh.
I would open my eyes and I would feel refreshed and I would feel better. And
Huh?
those type of things help a person. And and then when you start doing these things, you start feeling good about yourself. And that's when your self-esteem starts to rise. And little by little, you'll get to a point where you really feel good about yourself.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Those are all, I mean, all wonderful tips to get started. Fall is coming, so it's kind of like a time to get started, get
Yeah,
yourself charged up now. The
definitely.
summer's almost over, so now everybody, get yourself charged up. And I love the book. So it's Empower Yourself. What's the whole title again? Tell us
It's
so.
Empower Yourself. Don't let your conditions empower you. You can find it on Amazon. It's on my website, and I even created a journal to go with it. I talk about
Oh, that's
journaling
great,
in the book,
Stacey.
but
Yes.
I call it the Positivity and Gratitude Journal because I talk about the power of positive thinking in that book because that's
Uh-huh.
what really helped me get over all my obstacles in life was
Right.
the power of positive thinking, not focusing on the negative, letting go of the negative, and focusing just on the positive. Because out of everything that we go through, okay, let's look at the positive. What in that obstacle that you had to battle through, did you gain anything from? Look at the positive. And by thinking about the positive,
Uh-huh.
you strengthen yourself, you feel better about yourself, even with epilepsy. Okay, I went through a lot with epilepsy, but I don't think I would be the loving and compassionate individual that I am today if I didn't go through what I went through because I was able to see what others went through. And instead of living the life in New York and buying designer clothes and drinking a martini on a Friday night, I had epilepsy. I struggled through it. I helped others. Others felt good about themselves. And the biggest pleasure in my life, the biggest accomplishment was the ability to help another individual. And that's when I knew what my true calling was, because that's what made me feel good as a person. And people
Hmm.
have to realize what makes them feel good as a person.
Exactly, exactly. All great tips. Yes, and journaling is so important. I believe in that too. That helps you focus on those positive thoughts. So that was great having a journal also. So yeah, definitely if you get the book, get the journal so you can journal through also to empower yourself. Stacey, thanks so much. And don't forget, everyone, too, you can listen to my interview with Stacey. You just look up The Advisor, right? It's anywhere podcasts are found, I'm assuming, right, Stacey?
Yes, I put it
Yeah,
everywhere. You can find
right.
it on my YouTube, The Complete Herbal Guide. I have it on
Yes.
Spotify, Speaker. It's on all the different
Yes. Oh, and I
icons.
forgot. I think we're putting it on my website too. But yeah, so you can find my interview with Stacey too and go to find her book. It's on Amazon, right? Is that what you said, Stacey?
Yes, you can find that's the easiest place to find it on Amazon. I have it on my thecompleteherbalguide.com website, but
Okay,
Amazon has all my books. You can find them there.
great. And your website is thecompleteherbalguide.com. Is
Yes,
that
I
where you're
have
telling?
thecompleteherbalguide.com and I have the staceychillemi.com website. And I have health and wellness publications where I have just my books so people can actually browse through easily and see all the books that I've written over the course of 25 years.
Wow, wow. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's great. Wow, we have so much in common. Sounds kind of like me too, similar. So great, Stacey. Thanks so much. And keep me posted on your next book. I'm sure you'll have the next one. Let me know so you will have you come back.
Thank you
And,
so much for letting me be on the show. I
oh, you're
appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you.
Thank you,
It's been a
Stacey.
pleasure.
Thanks. Thanks. Take care.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show, and thanks as always to my producer, Britton Roselle, and my special guest this week, Stacey Chillemi, award-winning author and podcast host of The Authority. And you can find my interview on Stacey's podcast online. You can find it really on any of my social media accounts, and if you just look up The Authority with Stacey Chillemi, you can find my interview there. And as always, you can find me on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Twitter at M Liberati, on LinkedIn at M Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, on my blog, which is at marialiberati.com. And you can also find my award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, which includes the Basic Art of Italian Cooking Diaries seasons, at artoflivingprimamedia.com and on amazon.com and Kindle. And you can also find me on my Roku channel, which is called The Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati, and my Vimeo channel and my YouTube channel, the Maria Liberati channel. And I just found out some exciting news. I will be one of the celebrity chefs at the Taste of Philly event that will be on October 21st and 22nd of this year at the Valley Forge Casino. I'm really excited to be at this event. They haven't been able to have it for 2 years because of the pandemic, but it is coming back again. It's a great event, and lots of other celebrity chefs will be there, and love to meet you. So plan to come on out to the show. It's the Taste of Philly event at the Valley Forge Casino. I will be sampling some dishes from my latest book, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Diary season. So hope to see you then. And until next time, peace, love, and pasta.